it's Christy back here with my friend Weston, and this week we are playing with trail obstacles. Despite what discipline you do, working on trail obstacles helps you develop a lot of skills that will transfer to many other areas of riding. It teaches the horse to move off your leg. It teaches you to use your whole body. It teaches your horse to go forward and back and sideways, and to pay attention and to look at where they're going, not to mention the fact that it also will help desensitize your horse to certain things. So we're going to go through some of the obstacles. Weston has done most of these before. Actually, I think he's done all of these before, because although I've always ridden him English, we have participated in some trail trials and competitive trail rides, and he's been really successful in that. And this is not my area of expertise, so if you have a trainer who does Western trail classes or ranch riding trail classes or anything like that, they probably have a lot more knowledge than I do. But we cross-train in our riding program to do this stuff, and I just teach it the way I know it and how it works for me. So again, not really my area of expertise, but definitely Weston and I have had success even winning multiple competitive trail rides that had obstacles like this. So even if we aren't doing it exactly how they would do it in like a Western show, we have had a lot of success with how we do it in trail trials. And he sees something over there. I have no idea what. Why don't we move on to something, Weston, to keep your mind occupied. So we're going to start, I think, with this gate behind us. We have a rope gate out here. Hopefully I could find maybe a swing gate to demonstrate on too, because a rope gate and a swing gate can be done or are done differently, and there are some different techniques. Okay, can you pay attention, please? Let's not go spooking, gawking off at something. Put your head down. All right, so we're going to approach this gate. Okay, so we're approaching parallel to the gate, and I want to make sure he's nice and close to it. Get your head down. He's still looking at something over there, so I need to get his attention. That is the biggest difficulty I have with this horse, even though he's now 20 years old. We go to a competition and he gets very distracted out there, and his concentration of paying attention to me is always our biggest challenge, because when he's paying attention, he's great. So I'm going to try to keep his attention here and tell him stop shoving his head straight up in the air, staring over there. All right, so we've approached this parallel to the gate. There is a loop over this jump standard, and I've got both my reins in my left hand. I'm going to pick up the rope. You don't want to loop this in your hand. You don't want to get stuck in it, so make sure that you are just holding it in your hand, and if something goes wrong, drop the rope. We then back our horse up. And if you need to use two hands to train this, use two hands, but then try to work on going one-handed, because you need to hold on to this. And if you do a swing gate, you're supposed to be touching the gate the whole time. So now we're going to move the shoulders through the gate, and try to move the shoulders so they come through. He's anticipating, and I'm facing the other direction with his shoulders and my hand near this standard, but facing the other way. So I'm going to think about moving the shoulders through and then moving the hip over. I'm not going to think about swinging out and coming back, because that's going to get me too far away from the gate. So I'm going to use my left leg at the girth. Both hands go to the right, and I say move your shoulders through. Now the hips have to come around, so I'm using my right leg. And it's important, if they start to anticipate, to make them do one step at a time. So I use my right leg to put the haunch over to the left. So I'm going to use a combination of my left leg at the girth, my right leg a little back to ask the shoulders to move to the right and the hips to move to the left. Now if he wants to bulge out the left shoulder, I have to make sure to hold that left rein and my left leg so that he doesn't move away from the gate. And now you can see we are sitting here in a good position. His hips might be a little far to the right, but we're going to back up to the standard. We're going to stop when I'm right next to it, and we're going to loop that back on. There are ways to go backwards through the gate. I haven't practiced that in a while, but I'll practice it now. And of course you want to practice this from both sides. So if you back through the gate, you pick the loop up, you walk forward, and I have to come way out here because what I want to do now is put the hips in. So I want to push the hips to the right and the shoulders to the left. So I'm using my left leg back, moving the haunches over, and then I am going straight back through the gate. Now I want to move the shoulders over. Oop, he's anticipating a little bit and moved over more than I want. There we go. And I'm going to do one more step, and we're close to the standard, and I can loop that back on. Obviously, the closer you can get and the nicer job you make it look like, where it's easier than, reaching for it, the better it is. So just practice one step at a time. The faster you go, if your horse is anxious, the more anxious your horse is going to get. So again, one step at a time, nice and easy. And just think about moving one part of your horse at a time in the beginning. Think about, I'm going to move the shoulders, I'm going to move the hips. I'm going to move the shoulders, I'm going to move the hips. And that's the same with any of these obstacles as you start to practice and learn them, is think about moving one side of your horse's body at a time. Another trail obstacle you might find is a box. I've come into the box and I've stopped in the middle. And a lot of times they'll have you pivot around in the box. So I always think about the turn as a pivot, not a circle. If you think about it as a circle, if the box is too small, the horse is going to bulge out the shoulder and end up falling out of your box. So you want to think about, just like with the gate, think about moving parts of your horse one at a time. So I'm going to think about moving the shoulders, moving the hindquarters, moving the shoulders, moving the hindquarters. So I'm going to move my horse to the left. I'm going to turn my body to the left. I'm going to put both hands to the left. I'm going to put my left leg at the girth. Then I'm thinking, now turn the haunches. I'm sorry, that was the right leg at the girth. Right leg at the girth to push the shoulders. Left leg back to turn the haunch. So whenever you want to move the shoulders, you're pushing with the leg on the outside, and then you're pushing the haunches away on the inside. So now if I go to the right, I'm going to turn my hips a little to the right. He's anticipating, so I'm telling him stand still and wait, because this horse always wants to do stuff before I ask, and that's another problem we run into when we go to the shows, is he thinks he knows what he's doing and he does something and it's not what we're supposed to be doing. So I'm always working on him waiting for me. So I'm turning my hips to the right, putting my hands to the right. Left leg goes at the girth, says move the shoulders over. Right leg goes to the haunch, move the haunches over. Shoulders, haunch. Shoulders, haunch. Shoulders, haunch. And that way he was a little bit sticky, but we're not super warmed up, and his right hind is kind of his It's the side he has arthritis on, so not always the best. Another obstacle might be side passing over a pole. So I'm going to have my horse stand over the pole. Now when you first work on side passing, make sure the horse knows what moving off your leg means. Go in an arena or up to somewhere where there's a fence and point the horse at the fence and ask them to move sideways, both, again, breaking it down, shoulders, hindquarters, until they understand. And then the first step with stepping over a pole or side stepping over a pole is sometimes just letting the horse know it's okay to stand with a pole underneath them. A lot of horses don't like a pole underneath their body. And so sometimes this alone, standing and petting and saying you can have a pole underneath your body, is the first place you start. All right, so I'm just going to side pass him off this pole to the left, maybe wake up his hind end, that right hind end that's a little stiff. So I'm going to look a little this direction. I'm going to aim my hands this direction, and I'm going to use my right leg right on his ribs to say sideways. Now, if he doesn't quite understand that, I can go shoulders, hip, to get him off of that. Once you're advanced, they may ask you in a trail competition or a trail trial or trail class that you start off the pole and side pass onto the pole. So I'm left leg right on the ribs saying go sideways. I'm half halting in my right rein if the right shoulder starts to bulge. And again, I like one step at a time. I don't like my horses to rush or anticipate, and so sometimes I don't go all the way off the pole. I go back the other direction. Oh. Good boy. One step at a time so he doesn't learn to rush back. Good. Now you're going to look over your left shoulder. Think about putting the hips to the right. Good, hips to the right. So then just think hips to the right a little bit, shoulders to the left. Come on, Coda. Tap his hip and say move your hips over, because he's not moving his hip. His left leg is stuck. Get the left leg moving. There we go. Left leg barely moved. Yeah, there you go. So wait for him to move backwards and be soft. There we go. Now you got to hold a little your left rein because the left hip wants to keep drifting to the left. There you go. And one step at a time. Make sure you have the release. Release, yep. Because if they're not used to this and they're worried about the poles, you want to make sure that they don't get anxiety about it. Good. And then I would always walk them back through it. I'd never let them race out the backside in training. So let him drop his head down. So when you guys do trail obstacles, if you're doing a trail class, they expect the horses to drop their heads and noses down and look so that they don't stumble. Practice walking up and stopping on the bridge. Now left rein to get the shoulders over. Good. Make sure to hold the left aid so he doesn't drift away from the gate. So sit. Yeah, shorten your reins. Think, steer the shoulders to the right. Use your right leg, steer the hips. Steer the shoulders, steer the hips. Kick him with your left leg there. Now kick him with your right leg. Yep. Kick him with your left leg, bring the shoulders over, then kick him with your right leg, bring the hip over.
You're so good at this.
It's all right.
There you go.
Good. Make sure he's in the center of the box. There we go, that's fine. So yep, steer the shoulders, steer the hips, steer the shoulders, steer the hips. Both hands sideways, turn your hips. Good, give him a pet.
Oftentimes, the very first step in getting a horse to side pass over a pole is to first just get them comfortable standing over a pole.
She's like, watch me side pass in front of the poles. Oop, forward, forward, yeah. Just start again. We don't want them backing over a pole. Good, now just pet them and let them relax a second. And then, yeah, push him off to the right. Good boy. Ooh. So when you start it, go really close to the end so they have some success, and then go a little further and a little further. Use both hands, because to go sideways, you have to control the shoulder. So shorten your reins and keep them above the withers. So your left rein is non-existent right there, and that's why the shoulder bulged. Good, one step and pet. Good. Good, that was good. Good, and pet. Yeah, just in the beginning, reward each step. Very good, that's improvement. And then just get the hip over. Yeah, there you go. Good job.